Welcome to Law Firms on the Map, the go-to digital marketing show for attorneys serious about their business growth. I'm your host, Christoph Sprankins, CEO of On the Map Marketing. Our agency has helped thousands of attorneys crush their SEO and digital marketing goals over the last decade. Today, I'm meeting with up-and-coming legal SEO superstar, Adrian Gas. Adrian has spearheaded personal injury law firm and criminal SEO campaigns across some of the most competitive cities in the US. Matter of fact, that's how I stumbled upon him analyzing personal injury law firm websites that's crushing rankings in Chicago. And it turned out Adrian was behind it. Adrian, I'm so excited to have you on. Truth be told, you're actually first of the external guests on our On the Map Law Firm podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Congratulations for the podcast as well. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's plenty of law firm podcasts, but I thought I wanted to give a little bit spin of our own and kind of talk more about like specifics of digital marketing. A lot of podcasts I've been listening to is kind of generalize things like, oh yes, my law firm just went from 1 million to 5 all of a sudden. Well, but it's like, how exactly did you get there? Like, let's get in the itty gritty. Let's talk about what was it SEO? Was it PPC? Was it referrals? Like, this podcast is about getting specific and really building some strong strategies and hands-on experience for lawyers that are serious about their digital marketing. So with that being said, I'd love to get a little intro about you. How did you get in SEO? What's been your path so far?
Well, look, just to try to keep it short in a way, I think I started my first approach into SEO when I was working at hospitality. I was working in that industry like a few years ago, and I was actually a content manager. I wasn't an SEO specialist.
Yeah.
But as a content manager, I needed to get involved into a lot of on-site stuff. There were like different channels, on-site, of course, the traditional on-site channel and off-site channels as well. But the thing is that in order to improve our content in the website and all that, I needed to get along with this guy who was the actual SEM specialist, right? And this guy kind of like guided me through all the keyword strategy and all the technical errors and all that. So I kind of had a notion of what SEO was, but it was like a very basic notion. You know what I mean? It was like, just on-page optimization, basically. Use headings, content, use these types of keywords, and that's it. But when I started to get involved in this level, I noticed that there were so much more into SEO than just that, right? So I got introduced to my first tool, which I still love, which is Ahrefs.
Ahrefs, of course.
Yeah. Also Screaming Frog. So yeah, it was kind of like my first approach. We started to work together in a lot of keyword strategy and blogs and just optimizing the content, all of that.
Nice.
Right?
Well, it's such a common story. I hear that all the time. Content, at first, a person was involved with content, and then they start learning more. What does this content can do in organic world in general? Like, how does this content start ranking? What are the things that impact that? That's very cool. So how did you get in law firm SEO? How did that journey get you to law firms? It's kind of, there's so many verticals to do SEO in, but how did you get into law firm one?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I want to talk about later. But I was just there for a couple of years. Then I started to work on my own as a freelancer, and I started to do local SEO for some like small businesses and all that. Nothing crazy, but that was like my first approach to local SEO, right? So I work with them, and after that, it was when I came to. I was there for a couple of years, just like freelancing as well. And then I came to Elite, Came across it. Just know I just did my application and talk with the about that. And I started my journey as an SEO specialist there because I had a notion of the content management and the on-site side of things, all that because of hospitality. And then I had like a very big, well, not big, but a good notion of what local SEO was, because of my local clients as well. So it was like my first time doing it for legal, but it was like a very similar kind of thing.
Right.
And I started there as an SEO specialist and elite, and then I just built my way up to be the director of.
Boom. How long time did it take you?
Like a year, I will say, something like that.
Wow! So you became a director in a year. Must have been crushing those rankings.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
It's exciting to hear your success story. So maybe let's get a little bit more granular. What has gotten you to this place? Tell me maybe just kind of in general some couple keywords that you're super proud of that you've been able to rank in your legal SEO career so far.
Well, we have a few of them. We work with different types of law firms. We do PI, but we also work with family law, criminal defense, and all of that. So some of the most important ones is the one that you were mentioning before. We work with one of the, let's say, the most important local firms in the United States, which is Mama Law. They're in Chicago. And I mean, pretty much we have been able to rank them number one for every important PI term, right? We are number one for personal injury lawyer, Chicago personal injury lawyer, car accident term as well, truck accident. So that was a campaign that we didn't start from scratch, but we optimized to a level where they are like number one for everything right now. Right. And for the family law side of things, we have Kirkard Davis as well. They are in Austin, and they're a very good firm. They do family law, and I mean, right now they're dominating Austin. They're crushing it. So we were able to increase their amount of leads like heavily since we got their campaign. We didn't get them from scratch, but it was like pretty much, you know what I mean? Like they had like a very basic strategy and website. So we needed to optimize pretty much everything and just create a whole new strategy.
Very cool. I think you touched on something really interesting that people often miss. Like SEO is not something that you just turn on and you turn it off. I think SEO just lives as long as your business lives because it's your website's organic presence. It's just the question is who's working on it and what is the strategy they're applying. Like you mentioned, the Memo Law Firm in Chicago that you guys work with. You guys didn't start the campaign, but when you took it off, you were able to optimize it and improve it to a level that now you own those top rankings. And there's probably going to be someone that might come in and push you out, and then you're like, all right, now we need to get back to the drawing board. That's just an ongoing game that maybe with the help of with this podcast and in general, people like yourself, we can evangelize more this idea that it's a very long-term project. And then the question is just like, when are you getting started? Because the firms dominating the SERPs right now are the ones that have been doing it for a really long time. Everyone talks about Morgan, but they've been doing SEO for 10 plus years. So over 10 years, you can accrue so many pages of content, so many links, it's a compounding effect. And with people like you, I want to have conversations about talking, like what are the necessary ingredients to build a healthy SEO campaign? There's a lot of providers that can do it, but what is the highest level folks like ourselves? What do we do that's different? And what are the things people should focus on? So I want to ask you a question. What do you think makes a great SEO campaign? You've seen a lot of law firm websites. You've seen a lot of campaigns. I'm sure you've gone through some that are hard to get ranking. Like, what are the things that you would say, if you had to put those ingredients in a bowl, what are those ingredients that make a successful, healthy law firm SEO campaign?
Like, first thing I would say, what you just mentioned, you need to customize, you need to provide a customized strategy, SEO strategy for sure. Try to avoid, for sure, if you're a lawyer, if you're looking for some SEO guy that do your SEO stuff, try to avoid these generic SEO guys that will sell you just, as I said, generic packages without even looking at your strategy, without even auditing. Because, I mean, the approaches are going to be similar sometimes, but the thing is that every site, every law firm, every strategy is going to be different depending on where you are, depending on your market, depending on a lot of things, right? So what you really need is a customization. You really need a customized strategy that is focused on what you need right now, based on where you are now, right? And this also takes into consideration conversion channels, I would say, not just the SEO, right? Some of you could say final parts of the SEO funnel is also, and it's very important, it's also taking a look at the conversions, right? So a lot of people takes care of just driving traffic and ranking keywords. I mean, that's okay. It's a good start. But the thing is that you really need to look into conversions as well and try to optimize it the best you can. I can tell you right away that some markets are going to need, like, you have this basic conversion, you could say, like, tools and all of that, like form conversion or using forms or phone calls or whatever you want to do, chat as well. But the thing is that you need to understand which is the best for your market, right? It's not going to be the same for everyone in sometimes, right? And also depending on your practice area as well. So this is not something that you're going to know right away if you're not familiar with the market, but it is worth it to test it as well. It's worth it. How many leads are you getting out of each different like form or section or your website and all of that, and try to focus all your efforts into that one. Of course, it's not a matter of just getting rid of the forms or just getting rid of the chat and that's it. But you will want to, maybe if you're getting a lot of, if it's like 70% phone call or 80% phone calls, let's say, and just 20% form conversion, then maybe a good idea will be to start like pushing down the forms and then highlighting more the phone calls, call to actions and all of that.
Interesting.
So that's
to kind of feedback a little bit what you said. So one, customization, heavily focused on where you are right now. When you say that, what do you mean by that? Is it like more like, hey, do you need to expand more content? Do you need to build more backlinks? Do you need to spend more time on user experience and conversions? Because that was kind of the second part that you got into, saying, well, rankings might be there. You're probably getting traffic too, but if you're not getting leads, there's some, another issue happening. So those are kind of like back to your customization question. Can you expand on that a little bit? What do you mean by it?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. I mean, you're gonna need different things depending on your own site, right? It could be that you're getting the actual traffic, you have the rankings, but maybe the user experience part is the one that needs the optimization, or it could be otherwise. Maybe you have like a great site that you believe it's going to convert great because it has all the good practices, but you're not getting any traffic or you're not getting any rankings. And once you know that, you need to dive into why are you not getting any rankings, or why are you not ranking or getting traffic, right? And it could be many reasons. You need someone to audit your site and tell you like a very specific answer of what your issue is, right? It could be maybe you're not putting enough content there. Maybe you're failing with the on-page optimization. You're not getting the right page ones or page titles, or who knows. maybe it's a backlink issue. Maybe you have great content and a great website, but
Right.
you don't have any authority. So you need to work on your backlink strategy. Or finally, it could be like the technical side of things as well. I mean, maybe you'll have like great content, a good backlink strategy, or a solid domain authority. But it could be that your site is just like it's a mess, right? It could be that you have a lot of 404s and giving like, I don't know, the wrong signals to Google. You don't have like good internal linking structure, a good like information architecture and all that. So you really need someone to look into your site, make an audit, and building a strategy out of it, like a customized strategy. Do not rely on the guys that do not look at your site and don't even look at your site and say, you're like, okay, I'm going to give you this package of just 5 pieces of content and backlinks and all that without even knowing what you need, right?
Right. So that kind of brings us full circle with your thought process on customization. SEO is not a packaged one-fit-all solution. You really need to look at the website and understand what's necessary. Now, let's say the website is in, because those, in my opinion, those are like the easiest things to fix. Technical SEO, content. I mean, content can get tricky, but let's say on fundamental level, like we're gone, and some fundamental links as well, like all your directories are there. You get maybe a couple quality guest posts, and your site is healthy, and you are at that let's say page 2 of Chicago personal injury lawyer. What is really gonna drive the needle? Like you've done the fundamentals, like to your customization approach. We did the fundamentals. We got to the page 2, maybe even bottom page 1, but you and I know, and you talked about conversions, and I want our listeners to know this as well. Being on bottom page 1 is not going to drive leads unless the search volume for the keyword is really, really high. Search volume meaning how many times people search for respective keywords. Say Chicago personal injury lawyer probably searched around 800 times a month. That was just a rough guess. But if you're on bottom page 1, you're not getting a lot of traffic from that. So you need to be in top of organics. You need to be in map ranking. That's where the SEO will really produce results. So I want to hear from you, in your experience, what's going to be the driving factors at that point when your fundamentals are done? Because I think you're going to find a lot of, like we've seen a lot of law firms that have the fundamentals done, and then really what separates the good law firm SEO agencies from like the great ones is the ones that can take you and actually get you the top 3 and map rankings. I have my formula in mind, but I would totally want to hear your thoughts on what have you seen as those really driving factors that's gonna get a website in top results. And maybe you can talk about it separately and then kind of overlap between organics and map rankings, because obviously there's some different strategies, and then we can bring it together. What are the overlapping things one should focus on to get there?
Well, there are like little tricks that you can do as well. There are like a million of them, depending on where you're looking at. So some of them, we have tested them and we know they can be beneficial in a sense. Some others we haven't gotten a lot out of it. And I'm talking about, like, for example, map rankings. I'm talking about like just like geotags in the snippets of the website and coordinates and all that stuff. Those driving signals as well. And like, honestly, what I can tell you is that pretty much all the time you think you cover the basics, because I like to think about SEO in this like very basic structure. I like to think about in this like this form of a Venn diagram. So we have like content, backlinks, and technical SEO, and they intersect with each other, right? So the thing is that once you know that theory, the only thing that you need to do, in my experience, is just trying to keep optimizing each site and trying to keep doing a lot of competitive analysis, because a lot of times, like 99% of the times, you will think that you already covered the basics, but it's not about covering the basic as a whole. It's about just being where your competitors are, right? So you might have all your citations and all your guest posts and all that, but it doesn't matter that you have like that kind of stuff if the guy that you're trying to compete has like mentions over the media, or a lot of link assets, or who knows, a lot of different stuff, right? So it depends a lot. It depends a lot.
Can I interject quickly on that thought? So you're saying when you are on that, let's say bottom page 1, competitor analysis, understanding, okay, I've gone this far, what is my gap to the top performing sites?
Exactly.
And do you focus more on links at that point, or you focus still on expanding content? And you might say I have to look at both, but kind of from experience, do you think it's going to be more focused on link building at that point to figure out what are the missing aspects of your client's site?
Yeah, totally. Once we are on the top and the page 1, our focus, like pretty much all the time, is going to be backlinks. It's going to be just building authority. Because if you already reached the page 1, it's because Google noticed you and Google knows your content is good. It's good. It's good already. It just doesn't have like this authority yet, right? It's not as important yet,
right?
In front of Google eyes at the very least, right? So
how do you build this authority? I mean, obviously there's like millions of link building techniques, but what are some of your favorite ones that gets the needle moving?
Well, look, I'm gonna tell you some. There are like pretty actionable items, and then some of them are gonna be like low-hanging fruit as well, and they're very cool. Okay. So first of all, the basics, right? The basics are gonna be like link insertions and guest posting. As I told you before, I think we like to rely a lot on link insertions instead of guest posting as well. I think it's a better way to do it because of traffic and a lot of more like good signals you're giving away. But I mean, those two are like the basics, especially.
Just label that one a little bit, kind of for listeners in general. Like the idea here is not to just build new guest posts that live somewhere on some lawyer, informational website, law information, but the goal here is to find maybe existing articles that are driving traffic and then getting mentioned in that article back to your client's site, or, in this case, to law firm's site. Okay, that's a great suggestion. I love that one. Okay,
and the more contextual and the more relevant you can keep it, the better. I mean, let's say you're trying to get backlinks for your client that wants to rank its car accident page, right?
Yeah.
So maybe a good approach there when it comes to link insertions would be to look out for automotive sites that are covering something about a specific model. Maybe sometimes you're gonna have log and they're gonna cover something about a crash or something like that, and then you can look for a mention there, provide expert commentary. I don't know. Just look for a way to keep it contextual, keep it relevant. And one of the things that we want to do is try to keep it as organic as possible. Just if a user is actually just scanning the website, they're going to encounter your link or your piece of paragraph or whatever, and they're going to find it useful, and hopefully they're going to click on the link as well. Right. And not because, let me say that, not because we think that guy is going to convert, but what we want is the actual signal that you're giving away to Google that, hey, this link lives, it's important. People is clicking on it. It's organic. So that's kind of like the best type of link that you can give away or you can get.
What about some other strategies? The insertions are great, but I'm sure that's you can get only so far with those.
So the insertions is one part, right? The other thing I would say is that one of the best things that you can do as well is try if you're a lawyer, you're gonna know that right away. But if you are working with a client, is a lawyer, you need to try to leverage on to get leverage on his past, on his previous cases and all that. And what I mean by this is we have a lot of clients that they are not familiar with SEO, and they don't know that being mentioned in an article or having been part of a big case and I don't know, that kind of stuff, it's going to help their SEO. So you're going to be surprised by just asking you're going to be surprised by just trying to find out what they have done in the past. So just for like a very specific example, we have this guy in Las Vegas. We're just starting with them, and we have been looking for ways to just trying to elevate his domain authority, because we're starting from scratch, and Las Vegas is a very, very competitive market. So we got into a meeting with him, trying to find out these kind of things. And he told us that, hey, well, I was in a very like important case regarding a bathtub. So it's another story, but just to keep it short, it was like a very case regarding bathtubs, and it was like a huge in the media, and he had a lot of mentions and all that stuff. So what we're doing right now, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna move the needle, and it could apply for a lot of lawyers out there. I mean, I'm pretty sure that a lot of them have like big cases, and they might have been like mentioned somewhere, and it's not like a big deal for them, but it's a big deal for sure for SEO, right? So what you can do is kind of like a low-hanging fruit is, if those mentions are recent, especially if they're recent, it is very easy to collect a backlink out of that mention. I mean, it is not a piece of cake, but it is like easier than other methods, right? You only need to reach out to the author, like just try to build a good excuse for the backlink, and I could say like 90% of the times you're gonna get the backlink, right?
So that's an interesting suggestion. Basically, you're saying look at your past cases that were talked about in media, and then reach out to get links from those. So that's exactly good. What if you don't have those cases? Because let's say you're a family lawyer. I don't think those cases will be talked about as much as some personal injury ones. What are some ideas around moving the needle in that type of case? Media is still there. You mentioned something about digital assets. What are some other kind of creative ways to build that domain authority pretty quickly?
Another good way to do it as well is if you don't have like those previous assets, maybe you're starting your practice, or you have been like working with just the normal type of cases, as you said, like family law. Another good thing you can do is try to build your own asset, and it could be like, it's like a totally different approach, but we have been talking about these link assets. The thing about that one is just to keep it short and keep it simple. I will say try to create a valuable data-driven type of asset where you can get backlinks out of it, right? And this, of course, is going to be just your SEO team is going to take care of it, of course, because it requires a lot of work. It requires, just first of all, trying to find the data or the narrative around that data, right? And it could be like there are different methods, and maybe you're gonna find the narrative first, and then you're gonna find like the data set, or even you can
have an example of some successful one we can talk about specifically.
Yeah. Look, we have one as well that I can tell you right now. We created this link asset based on a data study that was out there for a Lemon law firm. And this study, of course, it had a lot of different data points and outcomes, and
what was the topic on? I'm just curious, so the listeners kind of get an idea.
The basic topic was the amount of cards sold
Okay.
versus the lemon law cases filed. Sorry.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Right.
And were you
So
guys able? Was it successful campaign? Did it attract links?
Yeah, it's kind of recent, but we have been attracting a few ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing there is just trying to keep it when you build it. You want to keep you want to have the journalists in mind and the bloggers and all that stuff.
Of course.
You're trying to approach those that people, because those are the ones that are gonna link back to you, right? So you want to basically create this type of article that works as a source,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Kind of the digital PR approach that's become pretty popular in SEO in the last 4 or 5 years.
Exactly.
I think everyone at this point has heard of Rise at 7, the UK firm that really evangelized the digital PR, and they've done some great work. So I want to come back to the initial question and compartmentalize a little bit the elements you have already suggested. So you are on bottom page 1. Okay, you have great citations, all the law directories. You got a couple links. You have a decent authority. So next steps that you're suggesting is saying, hey, find high authority sites with high contextual relevance that have articles that are driving traffic, and get your law firm website inserted in those. That's good. Second, look at your past cases and say, hey, is there any media mentions of these cases that I could get in the press? Okay, great. That's a really good suggestion. But that might not be an ongoing thing if you don't have these cases in media all the time. So what I feel like you're alluding to is that you need to get authoritative backlinks from like high media websites. So your next suggestion was create a digital asset that's statistics based. The example you gave was cars produced versus lemon law files claimed. Okay, that's another great suggestion. Where else can we turn to for these super authoritative links? Are we dried out with the ideas, or there's some other options?
I mean, there are a couple of just like different methods of acquiring backlinks as well. You can also have like this. I mean, there are a ton that you can try out, and it really depends on your case. But just to give you an example, there's this method of just trying a new software, a new upcoming software, and try to get like a backlink out of a testimonial and all of that. I mean, there are a ton of different like methods of acquiring backlinks. But what really matters is just first trying to be creative, of course, and second, most of the times, just again, just look at your competitors and try to find out whether they're doing it's going to be enough. You don't have to be that creative all of the times.
Right.
It's gonna be okay if you want to. I mean, it's gonna be totally okay. That's part of the SEO job, and the more creative you are, most of the times you're gonna get the best outcome. But of course, I know that time and resources are limited.
Right.
Sometimes you will not have the time to do everything, right? Because if you will have like unlimited resources, I would say that, hey, hire this data company or data mining company, and tell them to do like a study of how many people died from DUI type of accidents this year in this state versus in this state, or something like that, right?
Or all states, right?
Or maybe if you're covering, I don't know, Georgia, or if you're covering Indiana and all that, you could try to find out which state is the one with the most act of that kind. And maybe I will say and then go with your SEO team and build like a crazy landing page, and then hire a PR agency and tell them to just reach out. And of course, there will be a lot of methods, but the thing is that trying to create what you have, right? The resources that you have.
But from your experience with digital PR, because really that's what we're talking about here, how ongoing, like how consistent these campaigns have to be. Like we've had, we have clients in different verticals as well. And there's been experiences where we have a really successful digital PR campaign. And you would think this is going to drive the needle and you're going to have like these insane rankings. But let's say the piece gets 40, high authority links and you're like, okay. And still the links, haven't given the anticipated ranking boost. Like, what's your answer to that?
Well, it really depends on your campaign. I mean, some campaigns are going to be more successful than others. You're going to get a lot of different backlinks out of one, and maybe not a lot of them from some other. Also depends on the type of backlinks you're getting, because if you're just getting like mentions out of nothing, the article is not contextual, the article does not have traffic, or is not relevant or anything, then the power of that backlink might not be enough, right? It will be kind of like just guest posting in a better site, right? So my advice there is just try, if you have like an SEO team and a PR team, or if they are in this, I mean, if they are all together, if there's an in-house PR team in your SEO agency or anything like that, you need to make sure that they're working together in order to try to get the best outcome out of that campaign. Because most of the times that campaigns are going to work better if maybe the SEO team runs the link asset and the PR guys are the ones that distribute them or do the reach out, right? And it could be like way more interesting. And of course, it is like a feedback process, like an ongoing process in terms of maybe the SEO guys have they think they have a good idea, but the PR ones could say that, hey, this might not be that interesting for journalists. So why don't we do this instead of, why don't we build with this narrative instead, right? And this, I would say like the key there would be like the narrative for sure. You could have the greatest data of all times, but if you don't build a great narrative around that data, then it's not going to be interesting for any journalist. I mean, they're journalists at the end of the day. They are not like data people or ears or nothing. They're just trying to look for good stories, and that's it.
Makes sense. So I guess coming back to one of your initial points about link building, you just need to continuously do it. All avenues and heavy focus on link building once you are on that bottom page one. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Obviously, get creative, maximize your immediate tangible resources, and then perhaps digital PR is something law firm needs to start considering. Hey, you need to build the authority. Authority is going to come from high authority links that are contextually relevant. Okay, I love those ideas, and I appreciate you getting specific on some of the tactics as well. I want to touch a little bit also on the Google Map rankings, because I think you and I, we both know in local SEO, 60-70% of leads are coming from the map rankings. So heavy focus on improving the map listing rankings, which is, I think, often harder than the organics. So maybe you can give us a little bit of your formula, within the same scenario that we talked about. You are on bottom page one, you are starting to hover in maps around 7 or so. What's going to move the needle? I like your Venn diagram example. So where's the Venn diagram now? How do we adjust the resources to make sure the map rankings are moving in the right direction?
On maps, as you said, maps is kind of tricky because you're limited on the things that you can do for that one, and that's it. When you have a website, you can get, as I said, you can get creative and do a lot of different stuff and reach out to whatever you can and get backlinks in a lot of different forms, right? But when it comes to maps, you're limited to what you can do to your listing. And of course, there are citations and all that stuff, but I mean that's pretty much it. So you're kind of limited, and that's why it's tricky. One of the major things there, I'll tell you like my top 3 things for that one. And to be honest with you, we haven't found like this super thing, this absolute ultimate answer for maps that is going to tell you, oh, do this and that's
Yeah.
it. You're gonna be on top, right? Maps, to be honest with you, for us has been like pretty traditional. You just try to keep to the basics. Like, first of all, if you can, and this is kind of tricky because you really need to be able to, and it's try to include the keyword in the name of the maps, right? And it is kind of tricky, but it's going to work.
Right.
We have tested it a lot, and it works. So you will want to keep to include the keyword on the name of your listing. Let's say Johnson's Law Firm, just to say something. You will want to say it Johnson's Law Firm Personal Injury, or Johnson's Personal Injury Law Firm, or Personal Injury Law, something like that, right? But the thing there is that not all the times, but Google is gonna check on you, on your website, on your first of all on your website, and then on your citations and mentions, all of that, to make sure that that is your actual like commercial name.
Of course.
And if that is not, then you could get in trouble and get suspended, and you don't want that. So you really need to make sure that you can do it. But if you can, that's a good first thing to do, right? It's going to move the needle for sure. It has done it for us. The second most important thing for sure is reviews, for sure.
Reviews.
The more reviews you can get, the better the quality. And one more thing, the more keywords you can get in those reviews, like it's gonna be cool as well. And because it helps like Google understand, not of course Google is gonna know based on your category, is gonna know the what you do, right, your practice area. But first, if you have like keywords on those reviews, first is going to help you understand better, and second is going to help you understand the semantics around that practice. Like, let's say car accident, truck, wrongful death, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So of course you cannot
content base to reference what the business actually does. Okay, that's a good one.
So of course you cannot control what the people are going to say, and you shouldn't, because it is against Google guidelines. But I mean, you can just give away a people a template and tell them, hey, just please leave a review with this template and change your name. You shouldn't do that. Google could notice, and again, you could get suspended, and you don't want that. So the best approach here is just trying to incentivize them and tell them to elaborate the most they can on the review. Like, I mean, just ask for the review and tell them, if you could elaborate on your case and how did I help you, and the details of your crash or something like that, it's gonna be cool. Because most of the times, the more the people elaborate, the more words are gonna come, right? They're gonna write crash, or I don't know, accident, or they're gonna write something related,
that makes sense. Right? That's a great suggestion. And we tested this a little bit too. If you use Spanish keywords, your likelihood, like Spanish reviews, will help you rank for Spanish keywords when they're being ranked.
That's a good one.
That's a nice little test we tried, so that works. We're coming almost to a close here. I wanted to ask you one more thing. We're talking about link building. We're talking about Google Map rankings. What about local link building? It's kind of a term that's been getting popularized also in the last 2 years or so, maybe more. What are your take on that? Have you seen direct improvements in the map rankings by utilizing local link building?
Local rankings is kind of tricky as well, because I couldn't say that it's something that moved the needle for sure, because we have been able to get like a lot of local backlinks, and that's the tricky thing. local resources, local websites, the local backlinks you can get are limited for sure, and are limited by your location, by your relations, by all of that. So for some clients, we have some more local backlinks than for others. But in my perspective, you will need like a ton, and to be able to test it in an isolated way and say, like with confidence, the amount of the local backlinks that we build is actually helping our maps. So it's kind of on the guidelines. It's a best practice. Pretty much all people say, hey, try to build local backlinks that are relevant in order to get a better rank on your maps. But I wouldn't feel confident to say, hey, yes, this works. It has worked for us.
Right.
But even if it not works for your maps, it's going to work for your SEO as well, for sure.
Right. I just remember the one idea that you shared with me in some of our earlier conversations, building scholarship links within the location. So you kind of get the high authority backlink and you combine it with the local specifics of where your law firm is located. What's your 2 cents on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good approach as well. You're going to get, as you said, the local part and the traditional backlink part. And again, you're going to be limited by your location. If you're in a big, if you're on a big state, well, then you could get a lot of them. But of course, take into consideration that not all the universities are going to convert. Even if you are doing it on a state level, Georgia, let's say, and you have around, I don't know, 50 colleges or universities there, to say just like a ballpark number. Not all of them are going to convert. I mean, you're not going to get a backlink out of those 50, right? You're going to have like a conversion rate, and of course, the more local you are, you're going to narrow those chances to get a backlink, right? But it's a good way to do it. Another good way to do it is, I know a lot of lawyers get get along with their community. They try to help their community to get involved with sports or charities or a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
And most of the times you will be able to get a backlink out of those, out of the networking. Maybe you're sponsoring something, run or something like that.
Yeah.
You will be surprised of how willing they're gonna be to give a backlink.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Because of it.
Well, great stuff. So I'm gonna bring us full circle. You gave us a lot of great suggestions. So focusing on high authority links and media, local backlinks, just being involved in local communities, getting reviews, crucial for map rankings, and a trick to once you start getting the reviews, make sure people actually talk about their cases to reflect more of the keywords you're trying to rank for. And obviously that all goes without saying that, this all applies when your technical stuff is fixed and your foundation is built out. So, that's kind of stage one, making sure your foundation is good. And then stage two, these are more advanced level strategies to start tapping into. And most likely that takes some time too. It's not just do it for a couple of months and you're going to rank. This is where those type of strategies are being utilized for several years in a row. And sites really build massive authority. Okay. Well, Adrian, maybe some last words to, to law firms getting into SEO or maybe already being in it. Kind of what's your final takeaway?
Well, just one more thing. All the things that we have been talking about are great and they're amazing. But I'm gonna go back to what we said. You really need customization. If you're a lawyer trying to just build your SEO strategy, or even from scratch, or if you have something, try to look for someone. Or if you're doing it yourself, try to really look at your competitors and do a good analysis and see what you need, because these tricks are very good, but maybe you're in a location in a market that is not that competitive, and you won't even need this kind of stuff, right? You could even be on top on page one with a DR15 or DR20, and that's it. So it will be like a waste of resources and time for you to do all these things, right? So that's the importance of do an audit, customize, and strategy that suits you. And I mean, that's it. Just keep doing it until you are up, right?
All right. Nice. Well, Adrian, it was so much fun having you on, and we'll see you in SERPs, so to say. And I'm sure we'll have you back on with some more specific other SEO questions. But thank you so much. Really appreciate our conversation.
Thank you so much, Chris.